Hi. So, as you know, I'm Keith. This is my dad, Kerwin, and my uncle Craig and my uncle Chris. They're all here for a special episode. I know we're all in different areas, but and I got an AV headset now. But welcome to our exciting episode featuring three friends who've been united by their love for Star Wars for nearly 4 decades. Meet Christopher Peddy, Craig Samuel, and Kerwin Yarde. These friends have experienced the Star Wars franchise together since their childhood days, watching the original trilogy in theaters. In this interview, you'll get to know their unique friendship and how Star Wars has played a major role in shaping it. They'll take you on a journey through personal and professional lives, sharing their experiences growing up in Brooklyn, their time as acolytes in the church, and their individual paths that have led him to where they are today. But it's not just about reminiscing. They'll also discuss their thoughts on the future of Star Wars and the franchise's efforts to promote diversity. So join us now, grab your lightsabers, and let's discover together the ways in which Star Wars has brought these three friends together for nearly 40 years. Applause. There was meant to be applause. I'll just put it in. All right. So here's the introduction to our guests. Uncle Chris. Christopher Peddy is a Brooklyn-raised entrepreneur and motivational speaker who combines his background in film and visual communications with his expertise in personal development and well-being. Through his speeches and videos, Christopher aims to empower individuals to lead a more purposeful and fulfilling life. Craig Samuel, Uncle Craig, is a renowned chef and restaurateur hailing from Bedford Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, New York. He begins his culinary journey by studying at New York's Art and Design High School and later at Temple University. His passion for the restaurant business was further fueled while working at Philadelphia's Frog Commissary and studying at the restaurant school at Walnut Hill College. He went on to gain experience at some of the most highly regarded restaurants in the world, including Georges Perrier's Le Bec Fin and Les Gardes and Michael Rostag in Paris. In 2006, he and his partner Ben Grossman opened the Smoke Joint, Brooklyn's most notable barbecue restaurant, and went on to open the Peaches family of restaurants. Craig is a regular judge on the Food Network's Chopped and Beat Bobby Flay and has made numerous appearances on other food shows. And lastly, my dad, Kerwin Yarde, is a financial professional with decades of experience in the wealth management and financial services sectors. He's currently an assistant vice president in investor services for an international financial institution where he works with high net worth clients. In addition to his professional pursuits, Kerwin is also the co-host of Father.Son.Galaxy, a father and son podcast and YouTube channel, which he created to share his experiences and insights on Star Wars, Marvel, and nerd culture alongside his son, Keith.
Thank you. Beautiful introductions.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Very
much.
nice.
That was wonderful.
All right. So the first question, tell the audience a little about yourselves.
Who,
Who wants to start?
I'll let Chris start. Go ahead,
who's
Chris.
on the screen?
That's me.
Well, this is hello. This is Chris Petty, and I knew these two wonderful individuals growing up in Brooklyn, New York. We were actually together as youngsters in our church, basically brought in by our parents, and it's been a wonderful trip ever since then. Being able to grow together, hurt together, rebound from different obstacles, and to see each of us develop into the men that we are, and then looking at our own children today is quite an accomplishment. And I'm so proud to know these individuals and to be able to say that Star Wars has been at the forefront of that development is absolutely and definitely true. It basically it's that power that binds us together in the universe. And we'll talk about it more, but I definitely appreciate what it means to have these men as my friends.
Wow, that's a great introduction, Chris. I'm going to echo what he said. I mean, I've known these guys for 3 decades and more, and we've laughed together, cried together, we lived together. I've lived with each one of these gentlemen separately, and we just really had an amazing journey. And I think there's quite a few years left to our lives, so we're going to keep going on the journey.
Yeah. To agree with both Chris and Craig. Yeah, we are all immigrants for the most part. We come from a West Indian background. I was born in Barbados, and I moved to the United States when I was under a year old, and lived in Brooklyn for most of my life. And my parents were looking for a church home. And my dad, the story goes, he was just walking along Bushwick Avenue, and he passed by a church named St. Thomas Episcopal Church. And he went back to my mom and said, well, we can try out this church. And we did. And that is a community of West Indian immigrants as well. So we fit right in. And, my parents are still members of this church to this day. So, so I thank the church for bringing us together, because we needed that church. And if we didn't have that church growing up in Brooklyn, who knows where we would have been, so we understood what community meant, being a part of that church. And the church makes sure to not forget their young people. We may talk more about it a little bit later, but they looked out for the young people, and they made sure that we were not on the streets getting into trouble, making friends and staying grounded, about what the church is about, and, learning about God and his purpose for us in our lives. And our relationship is the longest relationship I have with anyone. So we're talking about more than 40 years. I've known Chris since I was 10. Craig, maybe about a few years after that, maybe when I was 12 or 13. But definitely by the time we went to see Return of the Jedi in '83, so we were very good friends, and we're still friends to this day.
And the funny part is, you've all got like a cut sound in your names: Craig, Chris, and Kerwin.
Yeah,
it's just the alliteration is getting to me right now.
It confuses a lot of people. It confuses me sometimes, so I get it, but yes,
the irony that you all became friends.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I never noticed that cut thing. There we go.
Yeah. I get mixed up.
Keith, I don't know if I count, but
There you go.
You'll be the honorary cut.
That's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the next question about being friends: how did you become friends?
Well, it for me, I met these two guys who already knew each other at St. Thomas, like Kerwin said, and every Friday night we would go to the youth group, and we just did everything. We had an amazing minister there who would take us to see movies, and we'd hang out, we'd go to diners, we would just talk about all sorts of things. And he and the organist were two like real forces in our life, and they really I think solidified our friendship. We would have had a normal friendship like anybody else has, but because of the structure that we had with these two really influential men in our lives, they took us so many places that we had all of these opportunities for bonding that probably made us stronger friends than had we just been hanging out together on the street.
To expand on that, the men in our lives were truly notable because they went above and beyond their calling. And I think that strengthened our development. There's been times when my parents weren't able financially to take off to go on regular family vacations. And the same individuals that Craig spoke of, um, one of them in terms of being an acolyte leader, volunteered to take Craig and I with him on his vacation that he was going with his grandson, because of the relationship that we built, and just the type of person that he was. And to be able to do that, to go away for that week, was just something you really couldn't, buy or expect. It changed my life in terms of how I saw the kindness and the love that is in people's heart. Say whatever you want to say about the fathers in the world, and not being around, and the men not stepping up to be all that they can be, but we've had real examples of men stepping up and being part of our lives, and that has definitely shaped who I believe we've become. And there's many more stories that we can mention of other individuals who helped us out when we needed it, gave us advice, to where it's now the turnaround, we give back. There's been times when um, Kerwin has spoken to my son in terms of his development and his questions of, the financial industry, and um, Craig and his wife in terms of reaching out to my daughters and people interested in the culinary industry and just life in general. So we've all kept that, you know, upbringing, and now we're giving it back in terms of what can we do to help out and to share with individuals. So it's an amazing life that we've lived, and I wouldn't change anything from knowing these two.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point, Chris. We spent a lot of time in church. We say acolytes, but if you're not familiar with the term acolytes, if you think of a Catholic church, we were choir boys, or, but we wore robes, and we would help out in the service. It's a the services can be very regal, and is routine, and so we were a part of that, just helping out with the service, making sure the service flows the way it's supposed to. But there were many leaders in the church, men and women, who
Mhm.
made sure that the young people did not fall by the wayside. They wanted to make sure that we were busy doing something. So we were all altar boys. I said choir boys, but I meant
Yeah.
altar boys or acolyte. We made sure that we stayed busy. I mean, we were there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, doing
Thursday
something.
sometime.
Yeah, sometimes Thursdays. Yeah. But yes, you're right. We needed that structure, and we got that. And I don't know how many young people out there have it now, who are blessed to have it the way we did. But yeah, we have a lot of people. We're not going to go through everyone, but people that we can thank, for making sure, um, you know, we stay out of trouble. As I said before, my family didn't really have enough money to take elaborate vacations, so our vacations were our picnic rides with the church, going to amusement parks.
The
Um,
bus trips.
yeah, absolutely. The bus trips, so that
Bear
was something that
Mountain.
I look
We
forward
went to
to.
Canada together.
We
We
did. We
we
went to
saw James
Montreal.
Bond in Canada on opening
That's
weekend.
exactly true.
So
That's exactly true. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I have that exact picture of the two of you. I took a picture of you two standing in front of the bus when we were in Montreal. I have to look for that picture, but yeah. So we were 13, no, 15, 14,
yeah,
15 at the time.
14.
Yeah. So yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, so I look forward to it. It was fun for me. It may sound boring to other kids, who are listening to this. But that's who we were, and that was our life. And like Chris said, I have no regrets, and I would not change it for the world.
So, how did your shared love of Star Wars bring you closer together, if at all?
Craig?
Well, I'll say this. I saw the very first Star Wars with another friend of mine. I mean, Chris and Kerwin both know my oldest friend, actually, a guy that I've known longer than them, Earl Blaze, who should also be on this call. But I didn't even know what Star Wars was, and I think I was 7. Came out in 76, right?
77, yeah.
77. I was 7. And he goes, I want to go see this show, Star Wars. And I said, I don't know, what is that? And we went, and I walked out changed because, and I know that like younger people today won't really be able to, to understand this, but there was nothing like that back then. Like nowadays, there's a million things to watch between Netflix, Amazon and Hulu and movies, and it's just you're flooded with content. But back then, there was nothing like Star Wars. A couple of movies about space, and you could sometimes see the string holding up the spaceship that like flew across the screen, and they might as well have been doing sound effects with their mouth, pew pew. But then to watch,
they were,
right? But then to watch Star Wars and just go, oh my God, this is real. Like you felt like you could walk into it. And it's funny, if you watch it now, you chuckle because it's not quite that amazing. But back then it was far and away greater than anything I'd ever seen. And we walked out of there and we were both changed. And, Earl is a Star Wars nerd as well. Fast forward a couple of years, and at that point, Chris, Kerwin, and I were hanging around and doing everything together, and we just went ahead and saw the other two of the original trilogy together, and every show that we saw was like a like quantum leap from the previous one. You would see the first one, and they were wearing the funny costumes, and Chewbacca's suit looked itchy, and by the time the second one came around, it was like, boy, they really got the hang of these characters. Stormtroopers looked a little more, put together, and it just everything looked a little sharper. And then you looked at the third one, you're like, okay, this is real. I could ride those flying motorcycles. This looks real. And of course, now when you watch them, it's like, okay, this is absolutely real. I want to go to Tatooine, But like that was our beginning, and that was my Star Wars arc, with these guys. As the later films came out, I think we saw them separately. But it was that 3-movie arc when I was bonding with my first friend Earl, who I think you would all consider him an extended friend, and these guys here, and we always felt like characters in Star Wars at that age. Like I was Han Solo always, and Kerwin was Luke Skywalker, and Chris was Chewbacca. Chris was Darth Vader.
But Dad would have been Darth Vader. He acts like it half the time.
Well, that's how he acts to you. All right. That's how he acts to you. That was my Star Wars. That was my Star Wars experience.
Okay. Can you share some of your memories of seeing Return of the Jedi at, I believe it was a Lowe's Astor Plaza?
Yeah. I can
do that one.
Yeah, let me start with that, because that's the one that I remember the most. That was, I've said the story so many times. I know Keith has heard it so many times. He can probably tell you the story himself.
And it gets old.
When
you hear from the same person's point of view so many times.
That's true. But I remember that day like it happened yesterday. So I do recall that the three of us um, made plans to go see Return of the Jedi. I picked out the movie theater because I wanted to make sure that we saw it at a theater that had Dolby surround sound. So that was the big thing at the time. Like you had to go see it on a big screen. You had to have the surround sound because, you know, it's Star Wars. You had to hear everything. So rather than see it in a theater in Brooklyn, I said, okay, well, we need to go to Manhattan because those are where the best theaters are. So I picked out Lowe's Astor Plaza. So, you know, the three of us got on the train, so either Ralph Avenue or Rockaway Avenue station. But if you're from Brooklyn, you would understand. But if you're not, from Rockaway Ave down to 42nd Street, well, up to 42nd Street in Manhattan on a local train is a little over an hour. Would you say, guys?
About 50 minutes. It's about 50 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a long train ride, but we were excited. And then we got there, got to the theater. There was a long line already just to get tickets. So we got to the booth, bought the tickets. Then we had to wait in another line because the show wasn't, we got there early. So the show was not ready yet. So there was another line of people out there and we had to wait in line for maybe 2 hours before we got in. But I remember that day was a beautiful day. It was sun, no rain. It wasn't very hot. It was in May because the movie came out May 25th. We saw it the Saturday after. And we just sat in line and just talked to other people in line. I remember a guy giving out Chipwich sandwiches.
Oh my God, that's true. Wow.
I remember all this, Yeah. And then when we finally got into the theater, we sat down, we made sure there were no assigned seats back then, right? So it's like mayhem.
Wait, hold on. Y'all didn't have assigned seats?
No, they didn't assign seats back then.
I'm sorry, Prince Keith. Back then you had to. It was a scrum. You had to run and grab a seat and then throw your jacket on the seat next to you and tell your friend to hurry up and come over. And people would say, "Move your jacket. I want the center seat."
Yes, that's exactly.
And then you would have to say no.
You would have to. Well, we go as far as fighting over a seat.
I assume people were like taking off their slippers and just being like, "This is my seat." Yeah.
You can't imagine. It was So no assigned seats.
But I can.
The doors open. People race right in to get the best seat, and we made sure that we got the center seats. And then we were settled in. The crowd was it was pandemonium. So as soon as you saw a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and then the blast of the music and all the people started cheering. It was amazing. And then the next 2 hours was just incredible. So I will never get that. I would never forget that experience of going to see Return of the Jedi. I don't know if you remember, that experience as much as I do, but that's what I remember.
I remember talking about it on the ride home and jumping around on the platform at 42nd Street, waiting for the C train to come, imitating the AT-ATs, and it just it was amazing. And as you were talking about that experience, I just went back and started thinking about my Empire Strikes Back experience, and I was not with you guys. I was with Earl there as well. We saw that in Brooklyn Heights on a theater that was about the same size as my laptop here. But I remember I just remember like walking out of that theater with you guys and just being on cloud nine. It was amazing.
Looking at that day, you saw the other two movies, so you knew that Lucas had to take this over the top. So everything is gonna be no holds barred. You're gonna find things that you never saw before, and he didn't disappoint. The expressions on people's faces, the comments, even down to the critics who couldn't really say anything about it. It was, amazing, and I was always into the special effects part of it. I always, the story was great. We wanted to get the answers to those questions, but I still wanted to see, okay, what new technology was going to come out, what new camera system, because you have to understand, we were the type of individuals that went to the art high schools and art and design in New York and wanted to
I
study.
was a media major, so I did filmmaking for 2
Wanted
years.
to study filmmaking. I went to the same school as this guy. And we were both studying filmmaking. And then Kerwin, he decided that okay, his finance high school was not great. He came over after he finished his classes. He came over to art and design and hung out with us in our filmmaking classes. And so that's another area that we connected is art and design, and we loved film
And the
we
love for film and special effects in particular.
Special effects.
Back then, special effects was
going to comic book stores and getting the magazines and seeing how the
Cinefex magazine.
Come on now, seeing how everything was done, and just spending hours looking that over. So I still say Return is my favorite, and my favorite scene is going towards the end. Lando and the group of fighters are waiting to go into the Death Star to finish off the job, to get the nod that the shield is down. Lando and his ships go in. They fight their way to the center. They get to the reactor. Lando takes those 2 shots. Boom, boom. The reactor explodes. He starts to turn to make his way out. You see the big ball of fire. You're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Then all of a sudden, you just see the tunnel falling right back behind him as he goes back through. And I was like, that's it. So, shots like that, just amaze us. And seeing that, even as teenagers, just took it over the top. And I love it.
Yeah. ILM has been around for so many years, but what they were doing back then, no one has ever done before. Now that, I appreciate them so much more, just going back and reading about the things that they had to create from scratch, because, there was just nothing out there. George Lucas just said, well, let's just figure it out. And that's what they did. And, as each movie went along, they just kept getting better and better and better with their visual effects. I mean, it's just, to this day, I mean, it's still incredible what they're doing now with computers, but we didn't have computers back then, Keith. So nothing was done on a computer. It was not computer generated. We didn't have the animation that we had today. It was all models and matte paintings and
oh boy,
sculptures. No, that's exactly what it was.
Whoa, wait.
Yeah, it was stop motion. But
you
it
didn't
was
have computers.
Why is he trying to make us feel old, Kerwin?
I don't know.
I'm not. I'm actually genuinely asking you a question. Like, no computers.
Not computers that could do what computers do now. Yeah, they weren't use computers for filmmaking at the time.
Even in high school, we didn't have access to. I mean, this thing that we're
I
doing
had
here,
in elementary school. Got one in 1st grade.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kerwin, you're officially old.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, thinking about it, going back 40 years, so it's 40 years. This movie has been out. It's legendary.
Exactly 40 years, actually, because now it's 2023.
Yeah, well, May 25th, 2023 will be 40 years of the release of The Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, we gotta do something to celebrate. It's also Mom's birthday, so
that's right, same day.
So we gotta combine our celebrations and do something huge.
We'll see. What I'm hoping is that they will re-release the film. I would.
And we could go see it in theaters, and I'll save my money and buy all the snacks you'll want.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to go back and see it on the big screen again.
Come on, Kerwin, make that live commitment on television that you're gonna do something big for the birthday. Come on, let's hear it.
Yeah.
Come on, Dad, pledge.
He said we're going to see Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, we have to. They have to re-release it, so I just can't wait, and I will be there.
Oh, come on! You know that Kerwin's going to get the collector's edition and whatever else.
You know,
He's gonna get us a Dolby surround sound,
yeah,
that huge speaker. He's gonna have
yeah.
Lowe's Astor Plaza rebuilt or something like that, and
That's
just
funny. Yeah.
have us in that theater.
Oh my God, you got
Teleport us
I
directly
had
to
the means
Manhattan.
to do that, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that theater is no longer around. But yeah,
Yeah.
I wish I could go back and bring back the Lowe's Astor Plaza Theater. But
But you know, we can
wonderful.
bring back the popcorn and the chip witches.
That's right.
Hey,
We can still, yeah, we
hey,
still have that.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I just thought of something. I'll buy everyone chip witches. That's a good idea.
You're
Thank
a,
you.
you're a good son.
Oh, thanks. And you're a good uncle. All right. So next question: how has your friendship changed since growing up as kids in Brooklyn?
Well, we've all lost our hair. Uh, we're not able to just like pop over and see each other and run and go see a movie. I mean, in the old days, and I know this is a Star Wars podcast, but this could just have easily have been a James Bond podcast because we were huge Bond fans. I don't
That's
know
true.
if Erwin is still
Never seen a Bond movie.
Yeah.
Bond fan, but we tried to see the Bond films on opening day every time there was a new Bond film. And being able to say, hey, we're gonna run out and go do this when you're a kid, that's like that's a blessing. I mean, Keith, if there's anything you should take from this is number one, enjoy your youth, make long lasting friendships and nurture that bond so that when somebody calls you 40 years later, you say, yes, I'll do your podcast. But just being able to jump and do things together is not as easy as it used to be because we're in 3 different places and everyone is juggling work and family and responsibilities. Trying to get back to that as we get older. When we started in diapers and we're headed to diapers, and hopefully by the time we're getting closer, we're able to like do stuff together more. Maybe go see a movie every once in a while, or go back to Canada and see the next James Bond film. Retrace those steps.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Can I come with you?
No, you're not one of us. Yes.
If I grow bald and get glasses, then can you come?
You know what? We'll shave your head.
Please don't.
We'll shave your head and then you can come.
Yeah. That's interesting. The last film that the 3 of us saw together was Skyfall. That was in 2012. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, over 10 years ago. Yeah. So, and it was a Bond film. How about that? Yeah. So we try to keep that tradition, of trying to see all the Bond films, but as much as we could.
Well, No
but yeah,
Time
that
to
was the
Die
last
already
one.
came out, and you had no time to watch that movie together.
Which one is this?
No Time
No
to
Time
Die.
to Die? Actually, Chris and I saw that together. No Time to Die.
Yeah, no, but the 3 of you.
No, you're right. Not the 3 of us. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
We got to hold like a watch party over
You
here.
got a little stand-up comedian here. I love this.
Oh, he is. Oh, trust me. I
Well,
can't hold a candle to this guy.
all I need is a microphone and a nice suit, and there I am.
All right. Be careful because comedians are getting slapped at the award shows now.
Well, ouch.
That's right.
Ouch.
I'm not going to touch that one. I promise to be good.
All right. Good.
Yes, thank you. Let's keep it PG.
PG. Let's keep
13.
Right. PG. All right.
No, just kidding. Just PG.
I would like to add one thing to leave you with also,
Oh boy.
Keith. The 3 of us, we can't leave out the fact that we had very strong mothers who helped to direct us.
That makes 4 of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a relationship where it was basically an open door policy growing up, where any one of us would be able to go into our friends' homes and not get a look like, why is he, your shadow, or why is he there? They all accepted us, all, fed us, took care of us, made sure that we were staying out of trouble. And there'll be time memories that I have of going into Kerwin's home, smelling his mom baking, and preparing for dinner, and just lighting up, knowing that there's that piece of cake with my name on it, that I look
That
forward.
pound cake is delicious.
Oh, it is. Yes. I had quite a few growing up, and
Well, I know that Miss Petty has some rice with corn and some
oh,
Swedish meatballs on the stove right now.
Excuse
and
me?
and
Oh,
Craig was always welcome, always, being forced something to eat, and all of us just had that mother component there. And when you say how has things changed as we have grown up, one, seeing our parents get older, knowing that now we, in the sense, have become our parents' care um, takers and givers, even though some of them have reached a level where they're not as healthy as we would like them to be. The impact that each one of my adopted mothers have made in my life, will outlast me and outlast my future generations, because I can't thank them enough for, one, bringing in such high quality, sons in the world, and guiding them, and then adopting me as one of their sons as well. So I just want to say right now, thank you to your moms for who I am. Definitely.
You know what you guys remind me of?
Careful.
No, it's a good thing. The Peters. Peter 1, Peter 2, and Peter 3, except there's really no numbers here. Like, you're all from different universes, those being your different families, but you're all the same because you're all best friends.
Yeah.
And, like, you all
That's
have
true.
one common interest: Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, who would have
Yeah.
thought the three of you would become
Yeah.
friends? And you all have so many things that's similar. You have glasses, you have K sounds or like cut sounds in your names. You all have Star Wars. Just like, these are the friends I like to have. Like, people like you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to bust your bubble, but you'll never have friends like us.
Ouch.
You know,
I guess that's a
if I
good
could
thing.
No,
say,
no, you will.
yeah. Well, if I could say one thing about our friendship and how it's grown over the years, um, I can count on Chris and Craig to be there for my life changing moments. So when I got married, when I had my children, um, you know, you know, um, I was married twice, and I had a relationship where things didn't work out, and I remarried your mom. Um, but I had the opportunity to have both Chris and Craig be my best man, um, and Craig my best man for my wedding. Um, we also, when we had children, when it was time to um, dedicate the babies, with you and Maceo, they were there for that as well. Um, so to me, that was very important. That was very important, to just have them around when I needed them.
Yeah,
Um,
even though Craig thought that it was the wrong day and he almost killed me, but finally that worked. That worked out. It worked out.
hmm hmm yeah. So I just want to, thank you guys, for, just, being there when I needed you. And something that I recall that your dad said, Chris, we were gathered together, we were celebrating. I don't recall what it was. So we were celebrating. Um, and he turned to me. The three of us were there with other family members, extended family, and he looked at me, your dad, and he said, "Well, how did you three manage to stay friends for so long?" And I shook my head. I never thought of that. The answer to that question, I said, "Well, I don't know. I just the only thing I could think of at the time is to say I think we just like each other. Just something that just that simple. That you could have people in your family who you love, but if you don't like them, it's different.
Yeah, the
You have to
dynamics.
understand that we're all three different people, but you love them for who they are, for how they think, for for how they their view on things, their view on life. But you also have to like who they are as a person. You like being around them. You like hearing their thoughts. You like hearing their advice, their conversation. So I think that's what it is. That 40 plus years later, we're still here. We genuinely like each other.
Can you stop saying 40 plus years, please? Can we
Okay. All right.
just say it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
All right, so next question. Can you reflect on a specific moment or experience that strengthened your friendship over the past years?
I could think of so many, and without nailing down any one, I will say that one of the things, and this is the springboard off of what both Chris and Kerwin said, is that yes, we like each other, yes, we love each other, and yes, we've always challenged each other to get better. Throughout our entire life, we always talk to each other with love, but in that moment, we would say, was that, or is the choice that you're making the right choice? Is this a good idea? Let me see what you're working on. Maybe I have an idea to push it further. But both Chris and Kerwin were around me during really pivotal moments in my life. There were some dark moments in my life where I relied on both of them independently at different times to help me get through that moment, and in only the way that a close friend could. I mean, I could have gone to an elder, I could have gone to anyone and said, "What do you think about this?" And they would have said something comforting. But these guys know I think how I tick, where I tick, and they were there for me in a way that just really helped me get through that trial, that tribulation, and got me here. I'm going to leave it that vague, but I'm sure they both can think about something like that.
Um, yeah. I, you know, you two guys know more about me than my own family members know. I agree with you, Craig. There's some things that you can, talk to your family members about. I have three older brothers, a younger sister that, I can talk to about what I'm going through. But you know what? I don't, if I have something that I'm going through, they're not the first people I'm actually considering talking to about it. It's you guys, so yeah, we just have that special bond. This, it's like a brotherhood. It's like we're being brothers. But yeah, anything that most of the time that I'm going through, or have a thought about, or thinking about anything that's life changing, or relationships, I don't go to my brothers first. I go to you guys. Because I consider you my brothers. And honestly, that's the truth.
And these two men, they know where all the bodies are buried. In terms of my life, I cannot take the chance of pissing them off. So there's been times when, you confide in people, and like, Kerwin says, they're your brothers, and you say stuff, but there's a limit. I pour everything out to, these two, and and it's the same way. I've had conversations where, they're saying things, and they'll give me, and if you say this to anybody else, we're done. And other times you're like, okay, and what? So what? But hearing it from one of these men, that's life crushing. That's like, that could never happen. I could never take that risk. So whatever I know, basically goes to the grave. You guys will have to, reincarnate me, clone me, go into my brain cells in order to get that information, because it's not going to come out any other way. And that's how we roll.
That was quite the description. I don't know how to take that.
No, Keith, you would understand as you get older how important friendships are. You treat your friendship differently than, when you get older, it'll be different. It'll be quite different. You treat your friendships differently than you treat your family members' relationships, and that's okay. And that's how it's supposed to be. There's some things that you rely on telling your family members, and there's some things that you prefer to tell your friends instead of your family members. So that's how it is. So of course, we want you and make sure to be fortunate enough to have friends that you can confide in, who can, if you say it's a secret, you want to keep it a secret, obviously, if it's not, anything criminal related. But if it's something personal that's from the heart that you don't want people to know about, you just want to tell it to one or two particular people that they should honor that and keep it with them. So yeah, you're gonna, it's wonderful to have those kind of friendships. But yeah, so that's what I have with Chris and Craig.
Oh, that's nice. Did you introduce your kids to Star Wars? And if you did, what was their reaction?
Kerwin, did you?
I didn't set out to, but I'll tell you something. So, Lucasfilm Publishing are geniuses. Their publishing team. It was not my intention to pass on Star Wars to Keith. I wanted it to be natural. Like, if it was going to happen, I didn't want to force it on him. I like some parents, if they're, sports fans, they want to, force their child to follow this team or that team. I didn't want to do that. But I was in the bookstore one day, and I was just passing. This was right around 2015 when we were, the sequel trilogy was just about starting up. And, so of course, the Lucasfilm Disney publicity machine was going, and I was in the bookstore and I saw these little golden books, and I said, wow, this could be an opportunity to introduce Keith to Star Wars. Yeah, and that's how it happened. So I brought them home, and I asked Tanya, do you think Keith would be interested? And she says, well, just give him the books and see what happens. And that's what happened. And is there anything better, after your son has read these books? There were 6 books. And, is there anything better for your son to come up to you and say to you, Dad, I want to watch Star Wars? And you go, really?
Was that the rock face? Was that your imitation of the rock face?
And that's what happened.
So I introduced my daughters to Star Wars as well. I owned, I don't have them anymore, but I owned the VHS Star Wars box set, the first trilogy. And, one day I'm cleaning up, going through the closet, and I find this box set. And this is, I don't know, a dozen years ago. My children are older. They're currently, well, I'm not going to give away their ages, but they're older. And at this time, we had a DVD player in our home. This was before streaming. Go ahead, Keith. What? You didn't have streaming?
Did you have cable though?
I don't have cable now. True story, I don't. But but I found this box set, and I had to rummage through my basement to find a VHS player. And I found a VHS player, brought it up, pulled out these cassettes, and I said to my daughters, "We're going to watch Star Wars." And they said, "I don't want to watch a war." And I said, no, this is Star Wars. This is an interesting movie about space. Well, I don't care about space. I'm like, well, no, it's more about people and the human condition and relationships. And they're like, sounds boring. And I connected the VHS player to my television, and I put in the first cassette. And of course, it's fuzzy. It's like out of focus. It's not really engaging. They fell asleep. I had the time of my life, by the way, watching those three films. It was a one Saturday afternoon watching those three films while they slept. But yeah, that's how that went.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I didn't make that attempt. My attention drifted towards anime, and I was into like Dragon Ball Z for a while and different things, and then I guess my kids got the anime bug, and now they're really deep into all the different cartoons and the manga books and into K-pop now, and they go to the concerts and for K-pop, and they're studying different languages in terms of the Japanese that so they can understand it better. So they were on totally a different level than what I expected. But Kerwin and I, we grew up having this love of, well, him 10 times more than me, but of the soundtrack for the movies, and getting the entire score and the albums. And so I was just playing throughout the soundtrack, and he heard one of my daughters heard the like they Kerwin said that the thunderous beginning of the Star Wars logo and the music playing, and we're very we get all caught up in the moment. So I'm just dancing around and to the whole theme song, and she's looking at me and it's like, what is dad's problem? And I was like, this is Star Wars. This is, everything that music is supposed to be. This is, the everything that adventure is supposed to have in a movie. And she was like, okay. So next thing you know, he came back a little later, maybe 2 months ago, and said, "Oh, I saw Star Wars. Pretty good." And I'm like, okay, that's an accomplishment. I'll take that. I'll take that. So that was the start for their connection with Star Wars.
All right. Can you discuss the ways in which your love of Star Wars has affected your view of the world and how it's influenced your life decisions?
I'll let Chris take that one.
Y'all letting Uncle Chris take all the hits.
In terms of the world and the decisions, it's the basic hero's journey. It goes back to that pivotal, point of a young man wanting more, wanting to escape the boundaries and the confines that he was surrounded by. And I believe so many of the young people today are experiencing that in whatever reason, whether it's their gender, whether it's in their race, whether it's in their, longing for more, better education. And when you're able to have like we mentioned, elders who are available to help you in your journey, your mom, your parents who only want the best for you. But Star Wars is that little nod, that little nudge that says that you can, obtain more. There is more for you out there. You just have to get rid of your fear, take the chance, take that leap of faith, surround yourself with good people, surround yourself with the technology, surround yourself with that inner love, that self-love that everyone should have for themselves, and just go for it. The world is changing. There's so many bad topics, bad news headlines, but basically there is good within all of us. I believe that. And if we are acknowledging us as a human race of being better, of becoming better, then I think Star Wars is a great example of what we can live by. Just strive to be more.
Yeah. What Star Wars boils down to is about family. It's a story about family. And, Keith, you and I have talked about this before about not just your immediate family, but your extended family. And your extended family can be, you know, your friends can be a part of your extended family. But it's about um, coming together to show solidarity, to um, understand what's right from what's wrong. And if you see something that's wrong, you try to change it. Sometimes, you may not know how to change it, but you may have people in your life who can help you, So to me, it was always about, these bands of rebels, who were, considered nobodies trying to outsmart this huge galactic empire. Like, how is that possible? This oppression that goes on in Star Wars. How can these little people take down such an entire oppressive operation?
Are we
And
talking about St. Thomas Church?
no, well, not talking about that church. No, no, I'm no. Oh, there. I always say there's two things that Star Wars does very well. It's religion and politics. For me, as I get older, I start to realize how important it is to believe in something that you don't see. When I go back now, for a very long time, Return of the Jedi was my favorite Star Wars film. But now, recently, I would say maybe in the last 7, 8 years, I've gone back and rewatched The Empire Strikes Back. And the more I get out of that, it helps me to understand what Yoda was telling Luke about believing in something that you don't see. Luke didn't have that leap of faith. He didn't have that. He didn't believe in himself. He was, he's a learner, but his heart just wasn't in it because he just didn't understand it and he didn't believe in it. And then when Yoda tried to explain to him that the Force is not is the Force is not just this crude matter. It's not this body. It's more spiritual, right? It's you see it in the trees, the rocks. It's everywhere. you know so that scene, obviously, when Luke tries to lift the ship out of the swamp and he can't do it, and he says it's too hard. you know Yoda had to take him to church. When he was preaching, it just reminded me of the preachers that I used to sermons that I listened to when I was attending church. Just trying to understand what believing is, what belief is. And then, of course, we know that Luke had to see it for himself, and Yoda lift the ship on his own using the Force. Um, and then when he says, well, you couldn't believe it, and Yoda said, well, that is why you failed. So it's about believing in something that, you can't see. You're just having that leap of faith that you can do anything you want to do if you just put your mind to it. And the other thing, too, is politics. I mean, we could spend 2 hours just talking about our political system. And it is just so reminiscent of what we've seen in the current Star Wars films, what we're seeing now in the series about, you have to be very careful as to who you put in political power because they may have an agenda, and the agenda may be that, it's not to serve the people, it's not to serve the government, it's not to serve the republic, it's to serve themselves. And what happens when you put somebody in there who is there to just serve themselves, and the harm that it causes so many people, so many lives, and that's the basis of why there's a rebellion in the first place. So yeah, as I get old, I begin to understand more about what Star Wars has been trying to say since George Lucas wrote it in 1977, and these creators are saying the same thing 40 years later.
So, what do you see happening in Star Wars in the next 10 years?
Um, I can I can start. I I would I want to see more diversity, and I think Star Wars is on their way there. Um, Star Wars needs well, Star Wars has always represented um, people of different races, of different cultures, different species. So, because it represents who we are, people of different cultures and different races. So, we need to continue to represent. And, we're on the right path right now. So, I'm glad to see more people of color in Star Wars, and not just, being on the screen, but taking lead roles in screens, like Andor, Mandalorian, so. Um,
Especially about the further promoting diversity thing. Like, what steps do you
exactly.
think they should take to further promote diversity in that sense?
Well, what steps they should take? Yeah, just allow people of color to take on more lead roles. You know, like they're doing with Diego Luna and with Rosario Dawson. Just bringing in Pedro Pascal, just bringing in more people of color, um, because I feel that, in my opinion, Star Wars, represents a small number of minority fans, and I think they can grow that base a little bit more if we see more people that look like us on the screen,
Right,
right?
especially with
Because
Finn. He just got
yeah,
severely sidetracked. And he was
right,
like a great character, set up for greatness, and then all of a sudden they kind of just pushed him out the way.
exactly right. And I think there's a lesson learned from how that was handled, um, and I don't think I don't see them making that kind of mistake again with a character like
Because of the
Finn.
backlash from it.
Right, exactly. So yeah, so I do believe there's going to be more representation, better stories. I don't know if you guys have seen Andor, but Andor was, to me, the best of
It was
television
great.
last year. So we just need to have more storytellers who can really bring more of a reality to Star Wars, and incorporate what we see in our lives into Star Wars and say, wow, okay, this looks familiar. I'm in it. I'm drawn in. So, but I think Star Wars is going in the right direction. I just want them to keep up with bringing in more representation. That's what I see in 10 years.
Well said.
Okay, and my last question is to talk about the things you've done to help maintain and strengthen your friendship over the years. Like, what advice do you have for people who would like to do the same thing?
Well, I'm gonna jump in here and give a shout out to somebody who's behind the camera, and I'll say that even as time went on and we started to move to different places and do different things, and we tried to get back together, but as I said earlier, sometimes work, sometimes family gets in the way, and you're like, well, I'll get to it. I found that Kerwin's home is the connective tissue in my relationship with Kerwin, because she will push us to spend time together. You know, she will call me up and say, "Come out here. We're having an event for Kerwin." She will make sure he stops by. I still live in Brooklyn with Kerwin's family, and she'll make sure that when they visit Brooklyn, and I'm sure Kerwin wants to as well, they stop by and see me before they leave. So like his wife is really, finding a good woman is definitely a part of it for us. Um, but being able to have that relationship strengthened and fostered from without as well was also important. And my wife loves both of these guys, and it's always like sort of helped us to maintain this relationship, because Curran's wife has been so supportive, and then just being able to spend time with these guys, it's amazing for me.
And just knowing in terms of giving advice, know that not everyone in your circle has to be exactly like you.
Because that'd be boring.
Exactly. We don't need to have a world full of clones that speak the same, walk the same, think the same. Knowing that we are very close, but still have great and unique personalities and the way of thinking. Um, Nourish that. Let that be something that you want to grow, and accept the person for who they are. As Craig mentioned, if there is a beat that's off, um, be willing to be that friend that says, "Listen, maybe this is the wrong move, maybe this is not right." But let that individual grow on their own and be a part of that growth. And once you are able to do that, the sky's the limit. There's no stopping the circle that you're building. There's no breaking that ring. You guys are strong.
Yeah. Yeah, you exactly. You absolutely don't want someone who always in agreement with you. You don't want someone to think like you or like the same things you do. That is boring. You're right. You don't want a friend to say, "Yeah, what you're doing is right," when you're not doing things right. You really want someone to, someone has to call you to the mat in a nice way. They don't have to put you down, but they can say, "Well, did you think this out? Is this the right thing to do? What about this?" Think of maybe a different scenario before you make that decision. That's who you want. And you don't know who your friends are going to be, right? So you're not going to say, you can't look at a person and say, "Hey, he makes a good friend. Oh, she's a good friend. Oh, not her, not him." You don't know. You have no idea.
Yeah.
So um, there's a quote from Star Wars that says, "Embrace others for their differences, for that is what makes you whole." Right? So you definitely want to find you definitely want to find people who uh, think differently than you do, because that's how you learn. You look at things. You're looking at
Stop
people
coming in here.
talking to you from different opinions, from different perspectives. I think that helps you to grow as a person. So
No.
I would say that's what you're looking for in friendship.
Oh, that's sweet. I gotta say, I think this is one, our longest episode, and two, our sweetest, because y'all are my uncles and dad. You're my dad, and I love you guys. Like, you're some of the best family I could ask for, and I've got some of the best friends as well. Like, I just gotta say, this has been an episode we've been trying to make for over a year now, and it's finally happening. And
Yeah.
also, I get the cool AV headset now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just to have all my family on this one episode.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
And
it's
as As far as having, being a father, we want the best for our children. Like every generation says they want to have uh, their children have more or better than what they had. And it's true. So I am. I'm sure we could speak for the dads here that we are so proud of our children, and we want only the best for you. The sky is the limit. There is no job if I can think of in this world where we're going to say that you can't be this, you can't be that. I don't see it. So just um, continue to explore. And enjoy life, explore, find the things you like to do, who want the best for you, who want to see you succeed, and just hang around you need to, surround yourself with, so thank you, Keith, and thank you, Tanya, for putting this together. This was wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
So
How would you like us to sign off? Hang on.
Where you can find us.
all right,
But
so
ask your uncles where can everybody find y'all, and then tell everybody where you can find us.
all right. Well, the producers just barged into my apartment with answers. So here we go. Uncle Chris, where can people find you?
You can look for me on my YouTube site at World Famous Christmas TV Movies, where I have also a TV show and podcast, and we'll be starting full production of our shows next month.
Mm-hmm. And
Uh,
Uncle
yeah,
Greg, where can people
I don't
find
know
you?
that you'd want to find me, but if you look for me, you could find me at Craig's Gist on Instagram. That's Craig's.gist on Instagram.
Oh, thank goodness it's not Craigslist. All right, and then going in alphabetical order to my
Yeah.
dad. We already know where we can find you, I think.
Yeah.
So you want
Yeah.
to wrap up together, or do you want me to do it?
No, you go ahead and wrap it up the way you do. Tell everyone where to find us.
All right. So you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Good Pods, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check out our socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Father.Son.Galaxy. Our website is Father.Son.Galaxy.com. Our merch store is Father.Son.Galaxy.myspreadshop.com. We have a whole bunch of fun merch, sweatshirts, t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, thermoses. So just check that out and check out our speaker page as well.
Craig and Chris, you guys mean the world to me. I love you. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for the memories, the good memories. So yes, we definitely need to continue to talk and get together, even if we're not in the same room. We'll just keep the conversation going.
Oh, no problem. Tanya already paid me for my time, so I
Wait,
appreciate it.
what?
You got your check?
I didn't get my check sent.
Oh,
All right.
Must have been a billing and payments error. I'll take it up with HR.
Yeah, we'll take it up with HR. All right. So Keith, you ready to sign off? So we'll say thank you everyone for joining us. So until next time, take care, and we will see you again.